All right, which one's better? A high-end gaming laptop or a handheld? Gaming laptop, obviously. What do you mean gaming handheld? Why would you want a gaming handheld where you can play all your games? Clearly, the answer to that is not going to be clear-cut for everyone. But today, I'm going to help you figure out which one is right for you, or both of you. All right, so it's obvious that in today's world, more and more people are getting into PC gaming. The cost of capable hardware has become vastly accessible, and there's simply more options for gaming than ever before. And with the launch of devices like the Steam Deck, PC gaming is more portable and affordable than ever before. With all these options, which one is right for you though? To keep things simple, I'm going to compare the new Legion 9i gaming laptop and the Steam Deck OLED, as those are probably two of my favorite devices in the last year, and those just happen to be the ones that I have on hand. In order to make this video a bit easier to follow, I'm going to break it down into a few different sections: size and portability, battery life, performance, utility, and of course, price. In each, I'll be giving my personal experience with both, as well as my opinion as to which I think is better. Now keep in mind, this topic is a bit ambiguous. There's quite literally millions of unique use cases out there for any style of product. The purpose of this is more to simplify the process for those looking for a more clear-cut answer to suit their needs. That being said, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments as to whether you prefer a laptop, a handheld, or heck, even both. Some of you have already given me your take on X recently, and I gotta be honest that I was surprised to see that a lot of you prefer a handheld even if you didn't have one. Early on when the Steam Deck first came out, I had mentioned several times saying that gaming handhelds could easily trump the gaming laptop market given their price to performance ratio. Not only that, but true gaming laptops historically never made for very good laptops. They were big, loud, extremely expensive, and were pretty much limited to only a few brands. And while a lot of that still remains true today, they have gotten a lot better. Like, surprisingly better. Okay, so back to the size thing. The Steam Deck is, in my opinion, the most ergonomically accessible out of all the handhelds I've used. It's a tad big, but it's not too big so long as you have the right case for it. I've been rocking this slick TomTalk hard case that allows me to pretty much toss the Steam Deck in any bag that I own. You just drop it in there, boom, done. It's hard all the way around. Super solid, super slim, super easy, and it's translucent, because who doesn't love that? And it's got a cutout so you can charge the Steam Deck while it's inside this little case. Anyway, not only that, but the Steam Deck is also only two components. Three at most. The Steam Deck itself, the charger, and maybe some headphones. But in most cases, all you need to game is the Steam Deck itself, and some sort of USB-C charger eventually. This makes the Steam Deck super portable for nearly any trip and fits in most bags and even slings. It's funny, I originally bashed the Steam Deck for being too large, but after having the Legion Go and the ROG Ally, I realized the Steam Deck truly is just right for me. Additionally, the Steam Deck, like most handhelds, is made from plastic, so it really doesn't add a ton of weight to your pack, which for me is a big deal as I often travel to events and have to carry at least one laptop, a camera, and sometimes a tripod, extra lens, etc. And adding any additional weight to that can really add up on the shoulder pain. Generally speaking though, most handhelds are reasonably portable these days and fit in most bags, making them an easy choice for travel. But what about a gaming laptop? Well, while some gaming laptops are 18 inches and weigh nearly 8 pounds, like the Titan that we saw at CES, the Legion 9i, like the Steam Deck, in my opinion, is just the right size for a gaming laptop and weighs under 6 pounds, which is impressive given its specs, which, if you missed my unboxing video, you should go check that out right after this one. Back in the day though, most gaming laptops were either 17 inches or 14 inches, and while that is mostly unchanged, I found that 16 inches truly is the sweet spot, and apparently so do many people, as we've seen a ton of great 16-inch ultrabook / gaming laptops released in the last couple years. Another reason I like the 16-inch form factor is because it's familiar, as I normally carry a 16-inch MacBook Pro with me as well. That being said, having to now carry two laptops in my bag is really not ideal. But sadly, all my editing software and its assets are on Final Cut, so I'm sort of stuck carrying two laptops if I go the gaming laptop route. But regardless, if you're carrying just one laptop, the 9i definitely could be considered portable as it's relatively light, crazy thin for the specs. Like, look at this thing. Really? While the 9i is listed as a 16-inch, This little protrusion at the rear where all the I/O is makes it more of a 17-inch chassis, so keep that in mind. Now, where a gaming laptop starts to lose its portability for me is in the accessories. For me, I like single player or controller supported games, so when I bring my 9i places, I almost always have to bring the big 330 watt charger, an Xbox controller, headphones, and sometimes a mouse. This means a gaming laptop is going to dominate your bag when traveling, which might be fine if that's all you plan to pack, but not everyone wants to have to do setup just to play a game for a short bit in their hotel room at night. I found that sometimes knowing I have to set it up often kills my want to even play games, but putting in the effort always results in a better gaming experience. It's a give and take and depends on what your room setup is. If you're sharing a room with someone and you both have laptops, well, you're gonna have to get creative with how you set them up, because with a handheld, you can just avoid the setup altogether, which is kind of convenient. Generally speaking though, when it comes to size and portability, both are generally portable these days. A handheld will almost always be more portable for gaming, but gaming laptops today have definitely gotten lighter, thinner, and smaller without compromising on performance, keeping them still relevant for traveling gamers. Personally, I can't decide which I prefer. I brought both with me to Boston this past week for PAX and found myself using the laptop more because the quality of the experience was better, but I found that the handheld was more comfortable. Regardless, gaming with a view of the Boston city skyline was absolutely breathtaking, and I'd totally do it again. Moving on to battery life then. This one should come to no surprise to anyone, but both handhelds and gaming laptops have average at best battery life. Now, I will say the OLED Steam Deck is miles better than the LCD Steam Deck in this category, but when looking at battery life holistically, both are still meh. Let's be real, you'll never be far from a charger when using either of these, so it sort of comes with the territory. Anyway, the Steam Deck I found was actually pretty serviceable when it came to gaming without the charger. I could easily get a couple hours on 3D games, depending on which one, and several hours on 2D games. This is to be expected, of course, but generally speaking, I found myself more inclined to want to play my 2D games on the Steam Deck rather than my AAA or 3D titles. That's not to say I couldn't play them, I just always felt that the Steam Deck or any handheld really was better suited for more light 2D games given their start-stop nature and low hit to battery life. That being said, I was never far from my charger. The same goes for the laptop. While the 9i's battery life is definitely plagued by the high-end i9-14900HX, Lenovo does implement some really smart features to help prolong your battery life, like shutting off the RTX 4090, reducing the refresh rate, and using their AI chip to tune the laptop to last as long as possible. On battery, I can get a couple hours of basic use in. I'm talking writing scripts, going to YouTube, messaging people, email, that kind of stuff. As far as gaming on battery, well, let's just say once upon a time I was flying to Seattle, and while on my 5-hour flight, I thought maybe it would be fun to see how the 9i fit on an economy airline seat tray. The best part is, the guy next to me was playing his tiny Nintendo Switch Lite when I pulled out my monster of a laptop, which dwarfed the seat tray. Yeah, I was that guy. Xbox controller and all. Oh, and I don't know if you know this, but airplanes don't support chargers up to a certain size, so my 330 watt GAN charger was not gonna work to keep my laptop charged while gaming. Needless to say, I got about 30-ish minutes of Expeditions and Helldivers 2 on battery. It worked, just not for long. Surprisingly though, the 9i performed pretty well in both games, even without its hefty power bump from the charger, so I guess you could game on it without the chargers. The 9i comes with 2 chargers, by the way. But in order to really game, you're gonna need at least one of them, preferably the 330 watt. So in this category, I think handhelds win simply because handhelds were entirely designed around a total system power constraint that doesn't necessarily include additional power, at least not while you're using it. While plugging in a charger will usually give a little extra juice like the Ally or the Go, handhelds were made to run on battery first. So as you can expect, they tend to run a lot longer without their chargers than something like a gaming laptop, which are generally designed to game on AC power, aka while they're plugged in. But who cares about battery life when gaming is all about performance? Sure, handhelds have come a long way when it comes to performance, and dare I say they are actually comparable to some gaming laptops. Not to mention all the emphasis on optimization Valve has been pushing with their Deck Verified program, which basically ensures your favorite games are totally optimized to run on your Steam Deck and, consequently, all other handhelds. The thing is, as of right now, there aren't many options when it comes to performance on a handheld. Most use the same APU and only have 16 gigs of RAM. What really sets them all apart is software. Basically, you get a Steam Deck or you get a Windows handheld, and if you get a Windows handheld, you're at the mercy of whatever software goop runs on top of it. None of them are great, so I found sticking with SteamOS and the Steam Deck resulted in the best experience overall, even if it wasn't necessarily the highest performing handheld. The key thing regarding performance on a handheld is consistency, something I think the Steam Deck has over every other Windows handheld right now, making it perform the best, in my opinion. Most games run at 45 to 60 FPS so long as they're verified, which to me is the sweet spot. Overall, performance on a handheld is serviceable and usually looks good on the smaller displays. It's not gonna knock your socks off, but it certainly is good enough to enjoy your games. Now, when we talk about gaming laptops, now we get into the well of options you can get. Gaming laptops are more attuned to someone who knows a bit more of what they're looking for performance-wise. And in laptops, each performance choice you make heavily influences other factors that may compromise its size, portability, and even price. Gaming laptop performance is a volatile one. There are many different combinations of hardware that all result in a wide variety of results. If you don't know what you're looking at, you could be in for a ride, and not a good one. And while it's easy to just go for the top spec every time to get good results, it's not always feasible, especially not when it costs nearly 5 times that of a handheld. But to avoid going down the rabbit hole of which gaming laptop is best, I'll keep it simple. Because gaming laptops have more options, you as the user have more control over your own destiny. It may cost you, but if you want to play games at max settings at high frame rates on a gaming laptop, you can. And because of that, I have to give this category to gaming laptops due to their much higher performance headroom. This 9i, for example, has an RTX 4090 and can play games like Star Citizen at nearly max settings at 2000p at nearly 60 FPS. Meanwhile, handhelds like the Ally could barely get Star Citizen to run over 15 FPS with everything turned off. It really boils down to the games you play. But if we're comparing performance to performance, gaming laptops win every single time. Additionally, gaming laptops are more versatile when it comes to inputs. Most handhelds have 1, maybe 2 USB-C ports that limit your options for input, whereas most gaming laptops, while still limited, have several USB-C ports, 1 or 2 USB-A ports, display out, and even Ethernet, making them more suitable for games that need additional inputs. TLDR, gaming handhelds perform well for games that are optimized well for them, but are limited in several ways, whereas gaming laptops have more options and headroom to play all games at better quality, as well as more versatile input options, making them all around better performing in most titles. But enough about performance. What about utility? A strange thing to consider for a gaming machine, I know, but not everyone has the budget to have both a dedicated gaming handheld and a computer for work, school, and other non-gaming tasks. So, which is better? Well, I'm sure most of you are rolling your eyes because, yeah, it's the gaming laptop. However, to be fair, you could plug in a dongle to your handheld and turn it into a makeshift work computer, but let's be real. No one wants to carry around a dongle, a separate keyboard, mouse, and possibly even a travel monitor just to answer Slack messages. But hey, if you're one of those people who likes to tinker and make things work, then by all means. But I think for the rest of us, we'd rather a more traditional laptop for getting our work done. That being said, I do want to commend handhelds like the Steam Deck for even offering a desktop mode, giving tinkerers the option to mess about should they want to. I talked about this a lot in my Steam Deck review, and while it may not be for everyone, it is there and it does work. The same goes for Windows, although I think that's less of a feature and more of a result of there not being a dedicated Windows-based operating system for handhelds. Anyway, if you're in the market to get a new gaming machine that needs to do other things outside gaming, the clear choice here is a gaming laptop. If, however, you already have a laptop for work or school and just want a machine to game on, then a handheld is probably the way to go. As silly as it may sound, I personally don't like the idea of having one device that does everything. It's nice to separate work from play where you can, so I totally respect anyone who decides they want both, or someone who can afford to have both. And according to a lot of you, that is what you prefer. I wonder why that is. Maybe we should make a whole video on that topic. All right, let's wrap this up. Price. Now, I shouldn't have to tell you who wins this one from a pure dollar value. However, there are of course other factors to consider when it comes to price. For handhelds, you're generally looking between $500 and $700. And what really dictates pricing on a handheld is usually just the storage capacity, making them easy to compare and purchase. Now, gaming laptops on the other hand, well, Just like with performance, laptops tend to widely range in price and in availability simply because there's usually several versions of the same model or several models in a single product line. This means there's exponentially more choices to make when buying a laptop, and pricing reflects that. I've seen gaming laptops as cheap as $700 and as expensive as $5,000 or $6,000. So when you consider the cheapest of gaming laptops are as expensive as the most expensive handhelds, you start to see the rift that drives these two apart. Buying a gaming laptop is much more a commitment than a handheld. A handheld only has to play your games, and that's generally it. And for $700, that's a pretty reasonable price to pay to play your favorite PC games on the go. But with a laptop, you're likely spending at minimum $1,000. And at that point, depending on what you're buying it for, it has to not only play your games, assumingly well, it also has to get all your work done, help you through school, and not be too gaudy in public. Not to mention quiet. I didn't specifically mention it in this video, but fan noise is something to consider when buying a laptop. Most gaming laptops are notorious for being loud, and while they have gotten better, they're still going to generate more heat and consequently be louder than an Ultrabook or a handheld, something you either live with or you don't. So as far as pricing goes, I gotta give it to handhelds, given this video is mostly about gaming, and it's hard to argue that the performance per dollar on a handheld is far better than any gaming laptop. So to wrap things up, now more than ever, there are more options for you to play your games, whether in your room, in your bed, on a plane, or in a hotel room. And while both handhelds and gaming laptops are capable of gaming on the go, both offer very different options to suit very different use cases. To sum things up simply, if you don't have any sort of computer or are in desperate need of an upgrade that can serve as your one and done machine, get a gaming laptop. There's tons of options and there's almost certainly a model for you. But if you already have a computer for the menial tasks and just want something compact to game on when you've got a few minutes, get a handheld. They're much cheaper, easier to purchase, and offer a comparable gaming experience in most cases. Not only that, but the buying process is a lot simpler due to there being less variance in specs across all brands, making them generally more approachable than laptops, at least for gaming. But that's gonna be it for this one. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button, and as always, make sure to subscribe to see more content like this. You can follow me on X, TikTok, and Instagram at xxiv_concept. That's 24 concept. Learn your Roman numerals. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.